Hey, everybody, welcome to another high impact, high value episode. This is part of our thought leadership series. I'm Brad Stevens, founder and CEO of Outsource Access, and 25-year entrepreneur. And a lot of you know my story and journey. And, I do a lot of our podcast series, and we're featuring a lot of our clients that have leveraged offshore staff and AI, right? How outsourcing and AI work for small to medium business and sharing examples. But I get a chance to intersect with a lot of individuals that are other just, impressive thought leaders in the industries. And at Outsource Access, we're in 85 different industries, and one of those is in the food space and the restaurant space. So I'm stoked to have Mr. Doug Smith on with us today. He and I have gone down 450 rabbit holes, I think, on our calls, and we're like, man, we need to get some of this on tape, and hopefully maybe some folks will find it interesting. So thanks for being with me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. You and I first connected up in Vancouver in March as part of the COO Alliance, and we were fortunate enough to be assigned seats next to each other at dinner. And I don't think you and I shut up for like 2.5 hours, dude. We just kept talking. We hardly ate. So I look forward to now being able to record it.
Absolutely, man. There's some folks you find, you just kind of can riff pretty quickly on a number of different topics. And yeah, shout out to, Cameron Harold and the COO Alliance. And a lot of people know who Cameron is, part of, COO helped, be a big key part of 1-800-GOT-JUNK and driving their growth. And then started COO Alliance as kind of a mastermind group just focused on bringing COOs together like Doug. And he's wearing, as most COOs wear, he's wearing a lot more hats than just COO, right? Depending on, you ask every COO their job description. It's like, well, how many hats do I have? But also touched a lot on the sales and marketing, got a lot of great chops on that side. So I'll ask him to do a quick intro here and his background. But yeah, it's great meeting. And so with COO Alliance, kind of bringing COOs together. And so I got a chance to speak. We actually run our one-on-one connection program for their COO Alliance to bring them together and actually provide some staff, some virtual assistant staff to support their organization. And so I got a chance to come speak on the whole world of, offshoring and outsourcing, and, seeing the COOs in the audience. Everybody wants to go down this path. They're being pressed to drive margin, to drive performance by their CEOs. But, after you squeeze all the levers internally on people and process, these are kind of one of the, last ones is exploring, the whole global offshore affordable staff path and AI. And, but it's having confidence you can go down that path. So it was an opportunity to go share a bunch of case studies and kind of, explain this can be done in a different type of way that, can be, trusted and supported. But anyway, it brought us together, ended up being a whole bunch of other topics we talked about. And so, Doug's got, amazing product, particularly touching and supporting on the customer acquisition and retention side of customers for the restaurant industry. I mean, incredible product that they have both on media side and also on the, well, I'll just let him tell it better than I do, and we'll dive into some case studies. So Doug, give everybody your quick elevator here and kind of background yourself, and then kind of the key brands that you guys have and who you serve.
Yeah, you got it. 30 years, what I spent in the radio industry, corporate as well as small. I was on air. I did sports broadcasting in Texas and was a big fan of overall marketing. And our CEO, Matt, and I actually became friends in 2001 when we both sold for CBS Radio here in the Cincinnati area. And as he ventured out of radio and started to grow the agency, we just remained friends. And I was one of those people that he was always bounce ideas off of. And he's the crazy 1%er, CEO, visionary, whatever you want to call him. And in 2019, I decided to get out of the radio industry, joined him. And our focus is on the on the restaurant industry. A lot of it is on the independent side. We have worked with franchises before and, multi-unit operators, but it's all about marketing. And our acronym says it all. Our company is America's Best Restaurants. You could say ABR, but it's about attract, build, and retain. It's all about data, understanding your customers. And it's something that we tell people as well. It's not just about the radio industry. It's businesses in general. I have a friend who's a roofer, a friend who's a chiropractor. I tell them the same thing. Attract attention, build a database, and then retain those customers. And that's what we do in multiple avenues involving restaurants all across the country.
And I'll pop up here for those who are watching the video version of this. I'll pop up and share the brand here, and it's really cool. I mean, just when he and I sat each other and kind of explaining them, they got these teams all over the country that kind of fly in and out. They're kind of at a home base and go out all over the country and do, 700 of these, kind of per year as far as shooting these phenomenal on-site production, high-end media for these, different restaurants. And so you can go americasbestrestaurant.com and you can click on and see, click on each state and kind of see the features that they've done, but just super high quality engagement. And it creates incredible visibility and PR, but then also like, how do you leverage that amazing asset, once you've filmed it. And so that kind of brings the other side, which is the Get Driver business he's talking about. Get Driver is the website. And I'll have Doug kind of share here what their experience has been, but really unique ways that they're leveraging, particularly on the social side and Facebook and Instagram, to activate kind of local markets to drive in customers and drive retention, and also on the catering side as well, which we kind of discussed. So we'll dive in and kind of explore some more specific case studies. And on our end here, at Outsource Access, in terms of how we've ended up engaging, we've ended up doing a lot more, down the restaurant industry, space. Particularly Restaurant 365, for example, which is a major platform for the restaurant industry. We've got a bunch of highly competent staff that's kind of running this entire software for restaurants and the accounting, inventory management. Got some great video kind of case studies on here. And this is the COO, actually, president COO of District Taco, which is a big franchise group, and we're helping run all the back end for that and helping support their catering. So we've had a chance to kind of see restaurants and the operational infrastructure and helping with some sales and marketing side. So, Doug and I both talk a lot about, the scaling challenges, both, individual restaurants as well as multi-location, and franchises specifically have as they're scaling, in terms of people, infrastructure, and then also, with the marketing and retention side. With more and more choices coming out there, like how do you, keep people engaged in that process? So on that front, kind of laid the foundation at what we do at Outsource Access, and with Doug is share a couple of case studies here. I know that kind of puts some meat on the bone for everybody. And I know, we got one top of mind, Doug, because everybody loves listening through case study, right? We talk big picture, but give me some metrics and data. Tell me about an actual restaurant, what they were struggling with, what the impact was. So I think you said Little Italy was a good one to kind of give a good example of.
Yeah, Little Italy Groveport. They're outside of Columbus, Ohio. Avery took over a family restaurant that was in I think it was like a 1,400 square foot restaurant. It was tiny. They were doing about $600,000 a year. And Avery was one of our early days of shooting an episode for our road show. And he quit Apple and took over the family restaurant. And he started to institute technology. He started to institute, proper POS, proper operations. And we came on board. And with the episode, we were able to start coaching him and giving him ideas regarding social media. I mean, he has his own social media person right now. Back then, the dude had never done a live. He hadn't really done any kind of posts. He hadn't done diddly. And he would tell you this if he was on the call. Well, we started coaching him with that. We connected him with a hospitality expert around the world about operations and how to do things properly. And they recently moved in about a year ago to a new location, and they're on pace right now to do $5.5 million. They've grown from 600,000 to over 5 million a year, one location. And the biggest thing is they take action. He's open to coaching. He got out of the way. He runs on EOS. I know you're a big part of EOS. Yeah. We actually connected him with his implementer. And now it's not just some mom and pop. Well, it is, but it doesn't look like it because he understands his database. He's attracted, he's built, he's retained people. He is like our golden child when someone goes, so what kind of impact can you guys really have? We say, well, look, there's no magic dust. You have to do the work. But if you listen to what we say and you actually do the work, Little Italy in Avery is a classic example of how a restaurant can grow exponentially.
And Doug, I am showing the right restaurant here. I'm assuming there's only so many Little Italies in Groveport. I'd pull this up, and this is their Facebook page, which I know is a big part of the vehicle you guys use to help drive. 11,000 followers. And so, and we could actually kind of live demonstrate and maybe show some of kind of how the model works. So, you kind of look at what are the kind of the elements you guys put in place, for them, and kind of the direct kind of metrics that they saw as a part of their growth. Kind of maybe walk through systematically, some of the things. I mean, putting EOS and getting the baseline infrastructure and how to run and kind of having that kind of mentality is core. But some of the mechanics you guys ended up being able to help them with on particularly with the acquisition process and retention.
Yeah, the baseline of it is it's called social media, social first, media second. But too many businesses, restaurants and businesses in general, treat it as media. Nobody picks up their phone, opens an app, and goes, boy, I hope I see a bunch of ads. This isn't the Super Bowl or, hold on, the big game. I don't want the NFL to sue me. You know, where people are expecting stuff. They don't want to see ads. So the biggest thing that we preach is creating the right content and then taking those engagements and turning it into a database. And the concept Matt created 10 years ago involves Messenger. And if you comment on one of their posts, then it'll trigger. Yeah. So just comment.
I'm here and say, this looks so tasty. We'll do it live there.
There you go. So it'll take it a couple seconds, and then Messenger in your upper right-hand corner will fire. And then it's going to have the ability to then capture your information. It'll take it a second. And then it'll start working through. There you go.
Oh,
so click
there we
that.
go. And so part of what you get, so as far as like helping them with the content, right? So it's a matter of like, you know, having the page, because a lot of restaurants and otherwise, they kind of have an ancillary Facebook page. It's, yeah, we'll throw a few things up here and there. It doesn't become a material part of their focus. It's just kind of a ancillary thing. They think it's more about just, you know, visibility on the road and front line and, you know, doing, you know, sponsoring the local baseball team and that kind of thing. They don't really see this as like a key element, but you guys help crack the code on that by actually engaging. So you're helping them, like, all right, where did you sit? And I'm sure they had, fraction of 11,000 followers, and you kind of engage them, but helping them with the content strategy to get people to comment. And then, so once you can kind of prime the pump, right? So you get somebody local in Groveport to comment on something, right? And you get visibility, and sometimes you can use some local ads to help prime it. But once they do, right, then this kind of thing start happening. So this is where the automation comes in. So, hey, Brad, thanks for the comment. Are you a member? Press on the button. So no, I'm not a part of the rewards program. See, so this is a whole messaging sequence.
Yeah, it's a whole messaging. So, but here's the cool part. The algorithm on social, let's just use Facebook as an example. It's all based on what they call positive attributions. The more you engage, the more it's going to keep showing you their content. So this is an opportunity to sign up for the actual loyalty. So inside Messenger, every time you click something, or if you click join now, or you comment, or you do anything like that, it feeds back to the algorithm that you didn't just stop your scroll. You actually clicked and you engaged. So the algorithm is going to go, okay, well, Brad didn't just stop and didn't just click. He actually did some extra engagements. So now the algorithm is going to feed you more, but it also is going to go find more people who look like you and feed it. So it's not just posting up stuff, and restaurants are notorious for posting pictures. Okay, that's great. But doing lives, doing video, asking questions, getting people to comment, it is social. Or what I like to call it, especially in the restaurant space, it's a virtual table touch. You know, you want to engage with people online just like they do at your table. And when you do it, capture their information. And it's shocking how many restaurants, and I'm sure you go out to places and you could probably list 4 or 5 of your favorite restaurants right now that you leave, they don't have any of your information. They're hoping and praying you come back. Well, if you allow somebody to leave your restaurant, get back in their car, and have life happen, and you don't know who they are or have a strategic way to be able to stay visible with them, whether online, email, text, or whatever else, you're kind of screwing yourself. And so the opportunity here is to build that database and then use it to strategically target those people, social media and off. And this is just one part of it.
Yeah. And you guys can see here, so it kind of triggers, and so it starts a whole sequence of communication. And so like these guys have chosen to kind of get people to either, are you part of the rewards program? Go sign up, and they're kind of driving them to to the sign up page, right, where people put in and engage. Like my local Blue Moon Pizza that we have, right? We signed up for this, and then once you signed up, you're engaged. And so if you are a member already, then it goes to view your rewards to kind of engage. And when you and I were on the other day, so Wooden Paddle was another example of another restaurant you guys have worked with. And so this one had a more, a different type of offer that, relatively newer relative to the other. But when you would engage, right, I commented on one of the comments on their page. Thanks for the comment. Would you like to join our deals, right? Join Pie Society. I checked the button. How often would you, do you dine in or order from it, every week? And so it let me go back and forth. What location do you prefer? I gave them an email address. And then get messages, and then it shared, a set of offers, right? So
Mhm.
if I said agree to opt in, then it gave me a set of offers that I could engage. It asked for my birthday. So just from commenting locally. And so to revisit your first point, by having people local in that market, right? I mean, the zip code I'm in here in Sandy Springs and in Georgia, right? People are following, then the algorithm will start showing. And when they start showing it, then that person comments, and then that messenger is doing a series of engagements. And to your point, now what Facebook is saying is, okay, there's a lot of people engaging with this locally in Sandy Springs. Let's show it to other local Sandy Springs people because, obviously it's got some popularity there. Then all of a sudden it's this like snowball self-perpetuating element. Now all of a sudden it's starting to show up, and anybody that's local in a local market, I got 2 kids, we're always looking for, we got our standard places we always go to. And man, I jump on any kind of offer that they have, and that drives an opportunity for me to choose them versus the other. But, we always got new restaurants coming in. So it's a way for us to get visibility. And similarly, there's another called Mr. O's. That's a really popular pizza place. It's supposedly got one of the Michelin star pizza places. And it was through a Facebook, that happened to, throw up in my local feed. But with this one here with Wooden Paddle, right, it was back and forth. And it's like, hey, here's your free offer to come in. And then it actually can track. You can click the offer. Then when you go into the restaurant, they'll have a code. They can capture it. And then you can trace the ROI right back from the engagement. So anyway, I love data. I love creative marketing. I love when people are using things innovatively. And so when I met Doug and kind of really saw the mechanics of this, it really kind of connected the dots. And that's just the front on the acquisition side. Then it's also kind of the retention piece that you run for restaurants to help make sure that they're getting people back in, ongoing, right?
Yeah. And that's where instead of hope and pray, it's aim and expect marketing is what we call it. Like the Wooden Paddle example there. One of the first questions we ask when it goes through that sequence is, have you ever dined here before? So we know if someone's a new, frequent, or lost customer. Well, every loyal customer was new at some point. So if you understand who your frequent customers are, it allows us to strategically go out and find new customers who have the social profile or the high probability to match what your frequent customers look like. So if you understand new, frequent, lost, then also when it comes to messaging, your marketing cannot be one size fits all. You're going to talk to a frequent customer who comes in once a week, way different than somebody who for the first time has come into your restaurant. And it's the same thing. If you're a lost customer, meaning you haven't been in 4 months, that's a totally different conversation. So understanding the data and how to strategically use it, that's what's key. And it's wonderful if someone has 1 million followers on Facebook, and Lord, I see it all the time. They get 0 engagements where we have pages that have maybe 4,000 followers, but they're crushing it because it doesn't matter the number of followers. It really matters on the engagement you are getting, and then using that engagement to turn it into a database, which then turns into customers.
Exactly. And being able to leverage that asset appropriately, which a lot of people don't ever do, appropriately. And so, that's kind of, what we found on kind of the, the virtual assistant side and working with different brands, and engaging. And everybody's seen the episode. We've actually got I'll bring it up. Actually, the thumbnail our team's working on, Betsy McAtee, owns Dreamland, barbecue. That's got 6 locations here locally. And I can't wait to tell her about what you guys are doing because we've been working with them for 5-6 years. And one of our staff in the Philippines, highly competent. I did a whole interview. You can hear about it. But she's doing all their accounting, all their bookkeeping, all of their inventory management. I mean, and we document all the process, have about a, 30-page playbook of all the things that, that we're doing. And so it's doing things differently, right? It's just like a lot of people have a preconceived notion about what social media and what Facebook is. And then, it can only deliver, and you just kind of have, the owner's, daughter that's randomly posting some photos up versus how to leverage it the right way. And, same thing in our world, people have a perception around virtual assistants and outsourcing and all that kind of stuff. And, we kind of reinvent the perception on it when I show, no, this is, and when they watch and see the competency of our staff, and I mean, for 5 years, she's been working side by side with their whole team at Dreamland, doing accounting, bookkeeping, reconciliation, all the third-party delivery services with DoorDash and Uber and everything that they're kind of navigating. And same thing with District Taco, big franchise group, and helping them with running their Restaurant 365 software. And actually, Dreamland's about to implement Restaurant 365, and we're helping with taking on and implementing it and making it be successful. So it's, part of the theme for everybody is, it's exploring things in a different way. And a lot of times, as you learn from Cameron Harold talks about, and everyone, you've got the Einstein quote, a problem cannot be solved from the same awareness from which it was created. Right.
Right.
And so, you've got to reinvent the wheel a bit and look, especially in the world of AI, is look and reinvent what are other ways that you can do things. And so that's why I love bringing on examples and case studies like this, because hopefully that's why, we try to make this super high takeaway. People are hearing something they never heard before and a different avenue to explore it. And we barely got to scratch the surface there of kind of what all, Doug and his team do, both on the production side, and we'll put the links in the show notes to go check out all the roadshow stuff that they've done, and then how to take those assets, right? So it's kind of, you got the asset you create in the video, and you don't necessarily have to have that to do, as you were talking, I think the driver work in terms of social media and retention, but it creates an amazing asset that you can now take that content and use it to kind of prime the pump to get a lot of your initial followers, and then kind of drive and get the momentum going, for the rest of the program. So, well, man, I thoroughly enjoyed and I know I'm feeling we got maybe a 2 or 3 part series. We could dive into other dimensions of this. We didn't talk about catering, right? And he was telling me, they've created such a powerful set of lead flow for catering leads that honestly have had restaurants just tell them to pause it because there's so many that are coming in, right? They're used to like easy cater and some of these, like it's an immediate order, right? It isn't necessarily an order, but it's people that have raised their hand, because how many of your customers walk into your restaurant? They're part of an office. They're part of an organization that needs catering. Why not capture that opportunity with them while they're in? So it's how to leverage that same momentum of customer base, not to get them keep coming in and telling their friends, but then how can you leverage it to turn into even, catering opportunity? And so we're actually looking at opportunity to help maybe some of our staff in the Philippines can help take on and manage some of those leads for some of these clients. Shouldn't be turning those down. Those are huge opportunities.
Well, the one thing that I love what you and your company are doing, Brad, is so many of these restaurants, thousands that we talk to and we work with every year, they can't get out of their own way. They're so busy in the business that offsetting some of that, like what you do, and allowing them to actually get rid of that off their plate, delegate it, and focus on the business. Little Italy in Avery is the perfect example of what happens. And what your company does helps restaurants and obviously more businesses, but helping those restaurants do that frees up their mind and gives them the ability to finally work in the business and actually grow it. Work on it. So kudos to you guys.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a 25-year entrepreneur, kind of, a lot of people have read the E-Myth. If you haven't, check it out, right? As cliche as it is, right? It's working on versus in the business. And even, being a 25-year entrepreneur, I find myself kind of working in versus on sometimes. And so that's actually my first podcast that I created, and we still got episodes called Automate and Delegate, right? Because at the end of the day, and with the tools and resources we have today, there's no reason, not to. So appreciate the kind words. And yeah, it's something we enjoy, working side by side with incredibly competent English speaking staff in the Philippines. Literally working side by side with, the key senior executives and managers of these organizations and these restaurants, to kind of take on different elements that either they want to get off of people's plates, right? That aren't the best use of their times. Like Chris Medhurst, the COO, right, at District Taco, need to get things off his plate in terms of helping to drive operations for the catering business. And the things they're not getting to it as an organization. And you take both of those and it creates a compelling element. So on that, anybody that's listening, if you want to send an email to tools, TOOLS, tools@outsourceaccess.com, and put Doug in the subject line, we'll know it came from Doug here. We'll send you our 2-question exercise process that'll help you really unpack all the constraint points that you're dealing with. We've used this with startups to, $300-400 million businesses, and it's just 2 simple questions that you can run with your team to at least identify the constraints you're navigating. And if you never use, Doug or us or anybody, it helps kind of create a dialogue of what the constraints are in the organization. So shoot that email, tools@Outsource Access. Just put Doug in the subject line. Don't have to write anything. We'll send those resources to you, and can kind of begin the journey. And we'll put all of Doug's LinkedIn and website information in the show notes as well, and can kind of dig in and learn more. So, well, thanks so much, Doug. I just hop on another podcast episode that's coming in, man. But always enjoy chatting, and we'll find some more rabbit holes to jump down here soon.
You got it, brother. Look forward to it.
All right, man. Take care.